There we go. We are live with another episode of this week's Tales from the Tavern. I'm like, well, all my guests can hear me. It's one of those things, like every week I have to miss one button, so I'm hoping that I just got it out of the way early this time.
I feel that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So welcome everybody. Thanks so much for joining me this week. I'm really excited to have you all here. This is such a fun group.
I am pumped.
So excited.
Me too. Super excited.
Yeah. All right. Well, what I would really love to do is I would like to go around and have everybody just introduce themselves, tell us a little about who you are and where you come from, and we'll get started there. So, Goovy, we're going to start with you.
Hi, I'm Goodball. I'm coming to you from California, and I'm part of From Afar podcast, a fun podcast with me and three of my other best friends that we started just to keep in touch since we all moved from afar. But yeah, that's it. That's me.
Well, thank you so much for jumping in today. I'm super glad that we were able to get you to come on. Goovy was on in our previous season when we were on our other channel. So, yeah, super glad to have you back.
Always happy to come join you, Luna. You're the best.
No, you. Next, we're gonna jump over to Nolan Lacey.
I'm Nolan Lacey. I am part of Good Better Quest on the Final Plank Network. It's a network of shows that, similarly to Goodval, we started making podcasts to stay in touch. I play a cat, but I'm not a furry. I have to explain that to a lot of people. So I figured I'd lead with it. I'm so excited to be here, though. Doug was on a couple of weeks ago, and he had a blast, so I'm excited.
Yes, I'm super excited that you're here, too. Doug messaged me, and he said, I've got 2 people from Good Better Quest that want to come on. I was like, all right, great.
Yeah, after that episode, we all started messaging him, and we're like, tell Luna whenever she wants us on. We'll be there.
Perfect. Well, I love it. I will probably, I'm booked out now through mid-December, so probably sometime in the new year I'll get to the rest of your crew, I promise.
Suck it, David.
Next we have Ty Burris.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ty Burris, Lord and Master of Creation. Actually, I'm a Lot Even Star on DeviantArt, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube, and I am with the Dice Tyrants, which is also who James here is with. And I'm the creator of the TTRPG Aether and Steamworks, which I've just finished the 1.5 edition, which will be uploaded soon to Drive Through RPG. So yeah, check that out when you can. I do all kinds of various streaming, which I plan on doing again soon. Since I now have time, I can do some more game streaming and stuff on my own personal channel. And I do art. So yeah,
yes,
that's me.
So you guys probably have heard us if you're a frequent visitor of our channel. Ty is the one who did this gorgeous overlay that we are all sitting in right now. He put together the intro video for me. He did our starting soon, BRB, and stream ending screens. He also created our amazing logo. So big kudos to Ty. We owe him a ton. We couldn't have done this without him. So thank you, Ty. We love you.
Very welcome. You all deserve it as well. You're wonderful people.
And next we have Cora.
Hi, I'm Cora. I run 2 live stream games, one on my own channel, Cora Spire, and one on my other channel for Sending Stone Stories. I'm the DM for both. I also run other bunch of off-stream stuffs. I'm an admin for an Adventure League Discord server, where I run Adventure League games on there, and I'm excited to be here, I guess. I don't know if I have much else to say.
That sounds fun, though, an Adventure League Discord.
Mm-hmm.
I might have to pull out my Adventure League card for that one. And last but not least, we have James.
Hello, everybody. I am James, the founder of Dice Tyrants, which Ty is a part of. And yeah, I'm super excited to be here with all these amazing people and chat it up with Luna. It's going to be a super good night tonight. And yeah, give it up for chat. Y'all are great. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Y'all are amazing.
You guys are amazing.
What's up, chat?
Right? Chat's
What up?
We have the best. We have the best chat. I'm telling you.
Chat's doing it up big.
It's so true. So we've
Can
already
I
we've
confess
already
something?
started. What's that?
Can I confess something?
Yes.
I would watch streams before I was like part of any kind of Twitch anything, and people would be like, "Oh, we love you, Chet." I'm like, "Who's this Chet guy everybody always talks about?"
We love you, Chet.
And when I realized, I was like, "Oh, I'm just dumb. That's what it is."
Chet was inside of me all along.
Chet was
here.
The chat
It
was
was the
inside
chat
of
we
you.
made along the way.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I love it. Well, we're gonna jump right in. Ray Mayhem has already thrown out a great question, and I think it's a perfect one to start with. Ray would like to know if your favorite spell was a drink, what would it taste like?
Ooh.
I have to think of what my favorite spell is
What
first.
the heck is my favorite spell?
I know.
I mean,
You can't include Fireball.
That's too
No,
easy.
I can't do Fireball anymore.
I know.
can't do Fireball.
I'm gonna have to cheat and use one from my game because it is my favorite spell, I guess.
Okay.
So, my favorite spell would taste like the morning after, where you knew what you had done the night before. That way, you could make the decision on whether or not to continue drinking that drink. And the spell is one that allows you in my game to bank rolls, so that you can change the outcomes of events in the future. That way, you don't make bad decisions as soon as you take a sip.
I like
Oh.
that, Tyson. I like that. That ability has come in handy so many times in our games.
I think the worst thing about me is I drink it and be like, "No, I'm gonna keep going."
It's gonna happen anyways.
I see the
Seems
decision
like
coming.
a lot of bad things happen. Guess we're gonna have to cross that road.
It's an adventure worth partaking in. I'm gonna enjoy the memories later.
So I don't typically play spellcasters, so I don't get to use spells much. But my go-to favorite is always just minor illusion, and it would taste like whiskey because why would it taste like anything else? If you can make a small glass of whiskey to convince people you're drinking it, might as well taste like it.
I like to think that it would taste like whiskey, but it'd actually be like rum or something. It's just a minor illusion. It's just like a little different.
Kind of convincing.
I think my favorite spell is Dragon's Breath. So I think my drink would taste like various different types of fruits then, like a green fruit, a red fruit, black fruit, and then it'd have one really bad one that would be the acid flavor. So it'd be like warheads. My drink would taste like warheads.
Oh, fun.
Atomic warheads.
I guess it's not technically a spell. I was gonna say Divine Smite. It would be minty, a little citrusy, but it would also be so boozy on the front end that you'd be on your ass, just like Divine Smite would do to you.
I count it as a spell. I mean, just because it's divine.
It takes a
doesn't mean it's
spell
not
slot.
magic.
It takes
Yeah.
a spell slot. It's just technically a feature, not a spell.
I would
count.
argue that even powers granted to you by greater deities is still magic. I mean, you don't say warlock's abilities are not magic.
Yeah. It's all just pulling on the weave. That's
Of course.
the truth of it.
Exactly. I would say mine would be an ability from Aether and Steamworks for the Fate Broken, and it's called Fate of the Broken. And essentially, with that, I feel like it would be like like taking 4 shots of tequila and you just go all in, and then you just are done.
You get drunk instantly.
Yes, just instant boom, woo, and then it's gone.
You're like riding everything in the building and you're just throwing your hands up in the air and bouncing
Why
off.
are my clothes off all the time?
0 to 100.
My clothes off all the time.
I'm gonna cheat, actually. So I would say restoration, but because I own the I own this lovely Heroes Feast cookbook. There's
That's
actually
amazing.
a potion of restoration drink in it, and the minute I read that, I went, yeah, I need that. I need that in my life, and it's like blackberries and lemon juice and gin and butterfly pea powder and blackberry liqueur. I'm like, yeah, sign me up.
Sounds delicious.
Wait,
Yeah,
what kind of powder did you say?
butterfly pea powder.
Okay, that is what you
Butterfly
said. I was
pea
like, did I hear
powder.
something wrong?
Nope.
I don't think they actually do that. Do they? Do butterflies urinate? Or are they just,
Well, it's a powder, apparently.
But do you
It's
know how many
like excess
butterflies they have
pollen
to
or
go
something
to?
that just falls off.
Yeah. It's like, you know, how many buckets of butterfly pea powder do you need to actually put into one drink?
One afternoon of butterfly catching.
It's
obviously.
it's an entire meadow full. That's how we measure that one.
Now my brain has created the image of somebody trying to wrangle a bunch of butterflies just to get their pea powder.
It's like,
It's like,
shake
come on,
them,
get in
you grab them by the
here.
wings and you just shake them over or
Get
something.
it
I
in
don't
the
know.
bucket, please.
Drink
I
more water.
love
Drink
it.
more water.
Swarm of butterflies.
Oh my
man.
gosh. Yeah. That's a super fun question though. I like that very much. Chat is on fire with questions tonight, so I'm just gonna start throwing them at you guys.
All right.
David Tilstra would like to know, if your character had to play one professional sport, what would they play and why?
Rugby.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
My current favorite character was Strata Delse, my orc on the Chronicles of Kind series we had. And he's a monk barbarian, so he gets in real close and contact sports all the time, knocks people down, does what he needs to do, rages through it. I mean, it's either rugby or football, but rugby's got a lot more violence involved. So
If not rugby, I would say MMA.
MMA, yeah,
I
MMA.
mean, I consider that a sport. You know?
Yeah, that's. I mean, there's a lot of physical activity there.
Classic monk sport right there.
Yep, get in close and personal, tangle people up.
So how professional are we talking here?
Hey, that's your PC. That's up to your PC to decide.
See, I feel like my current PC would play Highlight because it involves balls moving very fast, and they're all about catching and chasing balls.
What is Highlight? I've never heard of this.
Oh, it's a sport. It's really popular in South America. Have you ever seen the original Tron?
Yeah.
So you know the scene where the guys have those big mitts and they're catching balls and they're throwing them to each other and they bounce off the ceiling? It's like that, but the court is, I think, 60 meters long and the ball travels up to 90 miles an hour. So it's a very fast sport. But
You better catch that
It's
ball.
got these
Yeah.
like the tool is like this big scoopy thing that just launches the ball.
Kind of like lacrosse.
Yeah.
but way scarier, I feel.
Because, and just to clear that up, because cat, right?
Exactly.
Because
Yeah,
cat.
I
yeah,
think
I'm-
about that in my head
furry,
too.
not because furry, because cat.
Because
You know,
Yeah.
not
Cats
mentioned
do
in the
really
chat,
chase
I just need to accept it.
ball-shaped
It's a
objects.
different thing when it's because furry. It's a different thing.
I know this is an off-topic thing, but speaking of cats and balls and carrying, my kitten has started taking to stealing potatoes from my cupboard and trying to bring them upstairs. She did it this afternoon. It's like, what? What are you gonna do with that?
Nothing.
Anyway.
That's your job.
Yeah, it's a
I'm just-
potato.
It's
Just
pride.
stealing my potatoes and hiding them around the house. How am I supposed to make breakfast?
I love it.
She informed you of the potato problem. You're the one that has to clean it up now.
Yeah.
I like to think that she's gonna hide a potato and you're not gonna notice, and it's gonna become one of those like really long grown potatoes
That
you
grows
forget
into
about
the
in
walls of my
pantry.
house.
Yeah.
Yep.
Suddenly I'm in a potato hut.
I mean, there are worse things.
There I am.
I think my PC Seacart, he's a big burly paladin, but I think he'd play tennis. You know, because I like to think almost like Mario Tennis. Those like perfect hits. That's like his little smite, just like little spike down. Also, I'm just a big fan of tennis.
I'm imagining some enormous, like paladin type, big muscles and everything in those little tiny shorts. Those tiny.
Oh
tennis
yeah.
shorts.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think he'd wear the women's like short skirt, like it's shorts underneath with the little short skirt thing.
The skort.
Yeah, something like that. It's like an athletic skort.
There are special shorts. I know this because I used to be a tennis player. And there's special shorts that they make for tennis. You can actually they have special pockets to put tennis balls in and everything.
Wow.
Yep.
That makes sense.
There you go. Now you've learned something and we're an educational stream.
That's all that matters, right?
Hey, Luna, where do babies come from if we're doing education right now?
They come from this little pocket where you put tennis balls in your shorts.
Wow, that was heavy innuendo.
If you're rolling not one when pulling your tennis ball out, you come up with the baby.
Come up with a baby.
That's it. You're done.
Where did this baby come from?
Dang it! What my parents
It's
meant
a
when they said I was an
5% chance on every tennis ball.
My tennis career is over before it even started.
This is why I avoid sports like the plague.
Right? This is why I took up D&D.
After listening to most of From Afar, my only problem with Sieghart playing tennis is that I could see him trying to hit the ball with the anchor and just I've got this.
Yeah, I like that image though.
It would be pretty cool. Have a little regular tennis player on the other side, and Sieghart just grand slams the tennis ball. Point on me.
Did he actually wield an anchor for his melee, his weapon?
Yeah, that's actually the
Awesome.
inspiration. When I was making the character, the starting idea was just I want an anchor to be my weapon, and David allowed it, even though physically it doesn't make sense. But
honestly, if you shave the edges down, you got an axe, and if you shave the points on the end, you got a pickaxe axe. That's a good weapon.
we treat it more as a I think functionally in the rules it's just a reflavored maul, so bludgeoning damage, 2d6, whatever.
I was gonna ask, does an anchor do piercing or bludgeoning damage?
He uses it for bludgeoning. He's a bludgeoning kind of guy.
If you sharpen it down like Tyson was saying and add a huge chain to it, you could have a Kurosami.
There you go.
It
over
does
here.
have a chain
Get
on the end.
over here. Yeah.
In our session 0, which wasn't released or anything, we did attach a chain to it, and then it wasn't till episode 33 or something that I ever actually used the chain for anything. We're notoriously bad. We are notoriously bad at actually using the things he gives us.
Yeah, the rings. I'll just leave that for everybody else, but there are some rings.
I'm sorry, did you mean every player ever?
Literally.
Oh my gosh.
But no, David's shouting in chat to say how much it weighs because we were underwater and I dropped it on somebody from 50 feet up, and then we were like, well, how much damage does it do? And then he's like, well, I guess we have to decide how much it weighs. So I think we decided it was 127 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the average long sword is only 12, between 8 and 12.
Yeah. We Googled anchors, and it was average anchor weight, 60,000 pounds. And we're like, what the fuck? And then oh, that's for cruise ships.
Yeah.
For the modern day. That makes a lot more sense.
So I have a random historical bone to pick with longswords being 8 to 12 pounds because they were not. I do.
You're the one who does
HEMA.
fencing, right?
Yeah. HEMA.
I do historical fencing, yeah.
Yes.
So if they were 8 to 12 pounds, you would just throw your elbows out, just all the time. They're 4.5 pounds. That is my historical fact. We are an educational stream. So.
Of course.
See, there you go. You've learned 2 things tonight. 3, technically, if you count where babies come from.
That's one every 10 minutes. So
Right?
we're making great progress.
We
You guys
are.
going to be educated.
Yep.
I was
I
think
think
gonna
it's
say
the what is it called? The force basically is amplified based on the lever action of your arms. When you're swinging it out there, something that weighs 3 pounds for your arms, the amount of force on it is something 30 or 40 or 50. So you can't really have anything heavy, or you will literally, like you said, blow your arms out.
Yeah, your elbows can only handle so much before you, I don't know, invert them?
yeah.
I I didn't need those elbows.
Your guys' don't go both ways? That's wrong?
Are you saying you can't actually wield Grand Diclaves from, Exalted or, those massive two-handed Zanbato style weapons you see in anime? I mean, come on. You're destroying my illusion here.
What is it? So I love that you said you do HEMA. All the other From Afar podcast boys have done HEMA. I'm the only one that actually hasn't done it, but they did it for a long time and like did competitions and stuff. I think Andy like cracked David's head open through the helmet that you wear because he clocked him so hard. Like, yeah, they were all super into HEMA for a long time.
They did it in Orlando, right?
Yep.
They did it with Scott Brown. I know him, kind of.
Yeah.
I've bought most of my swords from him. But yeah, no, it's super cool, and it's in a lot of places that, I mean, it's such a niche. I want to play with swords, but I don't want to LARP kind of thing. That the clubs kind of fly under the radar.
I want to be nerdy.
If you make it as historic as possible, people have to take it seriously. I mean, that's what it's all about. We have the same thing. We actually have a huge HEMA society over here on the West Coast. I live in Oregon, and between Oregon and Washington, we have a whole bunch of communities that play. And while I haven't been take part in,
we're not playing.
We're not playing, of course. I've been to a few of the gatherings, but I haven't actually taken part myself. But it actually did temper a lot of my understanding of how weaponry works in TTRPGs and things like that, which I've had to argue with people. Like, you would never see somebody dual wielding weapons because it doesn't make as much sense as using a defensive option in one arm and, or being very accurate. And you would never see someone strap a weapon on their back because it's ridiculously hard to actually use it that way and to draw it that way.
Yeah.
Great swords are always over this shoulder. They're never like, if you're about to witness combat, you never have them sheathed. There's a lot of things.
There's a lot of two-handed systems, but like you said, the second hand, even if it's a dagger, it's always for defense.
Always.
And the thought is, if you're close enough to hit someone with your dagger, chances are you have a sword through your chest at that point.
Yeah.
It's I do a lot of rapier and dagger, and it is a blast. That is absolutely my favorite to do because it's very fancy. You get to do all the like the fancy poses that you see in movies, and they're effective if you're doing them right. But yeah, people who in movies do like they pick up two long swords or they pick up two sabers or something, like, no, that doesn't work.
Well, the thing that people don't consider is when you swing with one arm, you're not swinging with the other at the same time. Right. So then you turn and you swing with the other one when you've already drawn back your other arm and could just use it, which is your primary arm, which is going to be more accurate to begin with. So why use two?
I'm no Drizdo Erden yet, but
yeah, it like hurts because it's like it's such a cool aesthetic, and I'm sure we've all read Drizzt, and like the author does such a good job of describing like his movements and stuff, and then I'm just like, yeah, but that don't work like that, do it?
No, not really. I mean, the closest you get is samurai. I mean, there was a couple of styles developed using wakizashi and katana, which continued these circular momentum movements. When you have a curved blade, like Drizzt does with the scimitars, you can cause little tiny cuts and nicks and scrapes, but they're never going to work against heavily armored opponents. Yeah. So that kind of fighting style just doesn't work there. And then arrows, another thing. Arrows are deadly as hell, man. They are very, very dangerous. When you have a quiver of 20, you should kill 20 people or at least cause serious injury, not this piddly 1d6, 1d8 thing. I mean, it always drives me nuts. I'm like, yeah, that you pin somebody through the chest, they die. You hit them in the head, they die. You hit them in the arms and the legs, they are crippled.
That they have to live with an arrowhead inside them. Like,
yeah, you can, and you just rip it out, right? No, then you bleed to death because these things have barbed heads. I mean,
that's why the English dominated in like the 1300s, 1400s, because they developed the longbow and they could snipe you from like 600 feet away instead, and you would never even get close to them because you would just clear out your entire front line with these longbows that were 6 feet tall and took 2 people to draw.
Yep.
I'm loving our educational stream.
Right?
I'm nerding out right now.
Or like, so a lot of people do harness fectin, which is fighting in full armor. And, in movies, people with long swords, like, cut through armored opponents.
That doesn't happen.
That's super
it bounces off. You might dent them. You might wear them down. You have to get through or around the armor.
Yeah,
you have the right weapons that can penetrate small pieces. Yeah.
That's
even
why you pull out your rondelle and you just stab them in the eye, and then
you see, even things like Gambison, man. Gambison is just cloth armor, but it's thickly padded. Do you know how hard it is to cut through or penetrate Gambison?
Extremely.
And in modern day, if we took leather armor from modern days, they use like boiled leathers to increase them and stuff. But manufacturing now, I watched like a Greatest Warrior thing on TLC at one point, and they had modern day manufactured heavy leather that they put on somebody. It's like a sheet that's like almost 3.5-4 inches thick. It's like you can't get through it with any weapon that exists other than firearms. So leather armor right there, your best defense.
There you go, folks. You heard it here. This has been the most educational stream we've ever had. I think we need to shut it down now.
So Nolan, what in your opinion, what in your opinion is the hardest weapon to wield that you've used in HEMA?
I feel like that wildly depends on who your opponent is. I have been lucky enough that a lot of the people at the club have specialized in different weapons, so I've gotten good instruction on longsword, on rapier and dagger, Dusak, Messer. We've done a little saber, but the guy who does saber is the rapier instructor, and he just like, sabers are dumb, so we don't do a lot of it. But the manual that we train out of is the Meyer 1570 manual, and he says that the Dusak, which is later adapted into the cutlass, which is then later adapted into sabers and cavalry sabers. If you can use a Dusak, it is the master of all weapons, and if you're able to wield that judiciously, that you are a master swordsman with anything you pick up. And it's kind of true, because the way that you do single sword cut centric systems is very different, because you have to face your opponent so that you don't give them your chest. You have to profile. You have to lean over your body so that you can like get this crazy extension. It's very difficult. So like there's a lot of technique that goes into it to doing it well. But also, if you feint, if you know how to do that well, you can just boot people on the head. Like that's the other part of doing, sparring with people. If you just go like, oh no, you're going to hit me, just kidding, you're dead. You can win most of your passes.
Misdirection is a very powerful skill to use in combat.
I have never done any kind of weapon training, but I have done a lot of MMA, and people that can like feint really well, I've gotten more than one black eye or bloody nose from just being like, he's open. Oh, my whole world is rocked right now. Thank you for that lesson. That was very kind of you.
He's open, but now there's 3 of them. Why did that happen?
Oh crap! I'm now surrounded. That there's 3 of them is the next little question I have. So in HEMA, in MMA, in a lot of different stuff that we do when it comes to fighting, it's all duel based. It's one-on-one. Have you ever experienced fighting multiple people at once or in large scale, even if it's just a reenactment or something like that?
I haven't.
Training in the gym? No. When I was younger and a little more stupid, I have been in more than one bar fight, and fighting more than one opponent doesn't almost ever go well. There's no like kung fu, you're beating up multiple guys at once. If there's more of them coming at you at the same time, you can hit 1 or 2 of them, but you're going to be taken down. And that was close to my experience. When I was younger, my brother got attacked by this group of 3 guys. And I saw him and I ran up and jumped in to try to help him while he was on the ground. And the only thing you can do is run away a lot and hope you get any opportunities to do anything. So I threw one of them over a balcony, which was like a 2-story drop. Oh God, did you murder someone?
He didn't die. He broke his tailbone. I knocked one down and then got a bunch of hits on me, and I ended up having to just kind of back up and run away with my brother when we got the chance. So that was my one experience with multiplayer combat.
Multiplayer combat.
My biggest recommendation to everybody is, if you're in a fight where there's more than one opponent, this is not a fight you want to be in. I love fighting like MMA and things like that for the sport, what it teaches you about self-control and things like that. But I also love a good dust-up. A dust-up is different than a fight. A dust-up is, we got something to settle here, and we'll go to blows to it. But no one's trying to kill the other person. If there's more than one opponent, all rules are gone. Get out of that fight. Avoid the fight. Always avoid the fight. That's the most important rule.
I'll fair in love in two-handed or 2v1 combat.
Optimus Subprime Mortgage just said in chat, this is why I don't like PvP.
Right? They always gang up on you. It's never a fair fight.
See, I started doing HEMA because I'm a nerd.
It's crazy to me because I've gone to Renaissance festivals and seen like people fighting and jousting and stuff since I was like 12, like every year. And this is the first time I'm hearing about HEMA for some reason. I probably mentioned it and it never registered to me, and I've been every year of my life.
If we ever get to a point when we have like 3D true like Star Trek style VR experiences, you know, the nerds will be the buffest people on the planet because we're gonna go and fight dragons. We're gonna wander across mountainsides. It'll be wonderful.
There's a reason they say the nerds shall inherit the earth.
Exactly. Not only will we be the smartest, but we'll be the strongest and the most combat capable.
Dude, what is it? Sword Art Online, like the whole setup is that people get locked in this MMO VR thing, and I'm like, everyone's like freaking out, and I'm just like, yo, that'd be kind of sick though.
That sounds like my dream. Lock me in that headset, please.
Minus the dying in real life when you play the game part.
No, thank you.
We'll take that part out.
Also, no spoilers for that one because I'm in the middle of watching season 2 right now. So
I only watched season 1. I didn't keep watching, so you're good.
Okay.
I'm reading the Otherland series, and that's like the whole premise of that show, that VR is just everywhere, and like people just live in VR now, and people pass out and die because they forget to eat.
Yeah, well, they do that in modern day, even with things like MMOs right now. So,
Have you guys ever watched Grimgar?
No. What is that?
It is the same premise as Sword Art Online, but the characters don't know that they've ever entered, I'm assuming VR, but they all wake up in this huge tower, and they can see from outside the tower a village. And they're just like, how the hell did we get here? Like, we all just woke up. Where are we? And one of them like says, oh, let me grab my cell phone. And they're like, wait, what the hell is a cell phone? Why? and you'll see that throughout the series. And it follows the story of this small party that ends up joining this adventuring band, and they suck. They're really bad. They are terrible at working together, and it's an amazing anime, but they only released one season because it was a promotional season to support their manga, and it sucks because it was so good. But highly recommend. I'll post it in the Discord chat.
Please do. That sounds cool.
Yeah,
Grimgar.
I'm also always looking for more anime to watch. So.
Right?
I'm a big isekai nerd, so I guess I'll watch it.
Okay.
It's almost like I want to get taken to another world.
Right?
What? Isn't that
this one is so beautiful and wonderful, though. Why would you want to leave this one ever?
I love VR.
I don't know. Is Big Brother listening?
I think he is.
He is, actually.
I don't know, whatever you want.
So with that, I think we should answer Big B's question, because I think that will tie in kind of nicely. Do you find yourself playing different classes or roles in TTRPGs than you do in video games?
Yes, I tend to play a lot of healers in video games. I play a lot of MMOs pretty regularly. And I always play like a healer, or I play like some kind of like arcane trickster of some kind. And in TTRPGs, I always play casters. I played like 2 martials ever, and I hated both of them. So I always play like a caster or a big damage dealer or something. So I would say yeah, for sure.
I'm like the total opposite.
I think I'm too chaotic because I don't ever play the same thing ever, pretty much. I really enjoy new experiences so much that I can't even stick with like the same music over the course of 1 year. I can't, when I play a character, even in things like I played World of Warcraft for a really long time, and almost every week or two I'd respec my characters and try something else, and then try something else, and then try something else. I have every single one, or when I was playing, I had every single one of the classes maxed out. It's like, that's just who I am. I like to see different and new and exciting things.
Oh yeah, I love variety. I love experiencing
Variety,
everything in a video game. That's great. I love that so much myself.
So when we started GBQ, I started as a cleric, and I had played a lot of TTRPGs with other people, but I had never really dipped into 5e much. So I started with the cleric because it sounded like a pretty generic class. You could do a lot with it, melee and casting and healing, and you can do a lot. And then we had some technical changes, so I got to make another character, which I started as a fighter, and now I'm speccing him into a cleric as well, and I'm seeing a pattern. When I play like RPGs on my own, I always go tank. Like I don't know why that's always been my thing. I guess because I like play alone and having a ton of health helps. So every time a game comes out, like the biggest, beefiest person on the team, I'm always like, those are my go-tos.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. I mean, it doesn't really matter what game I'm playing, if it's Super Smash Brothers, Skyrim, Overwatch. I like tanking. I like to be the big guy that can take a hit and also hit back slower, but probably pretty hard. Prior to making FAP, I was a forever DM, though.
I just realized that's what that spells out.
That was fully unintentional, and after we realized it, we were just like, well,
just leaned into it a bit.
I guess that's it.
Well, someone brought to my attention that my game is Aether and Steamworks. That's ANS. And oftentimes people can recognize the possible entendre there.
What's going on with anus?
I don't know. I'm thinking of having a fully stripped Bleach edition. But it's gonna have no art in it. It'll be black and white. That's it. It's just clean.
Smooth.
Smooth and clean, you might say. Yeah.
Dude, I'm down with that. I could eat that.
Okay, let's rein it back a little bit.
No. Going back. So
God.
I do like playing tanks. This is like the first long-term character I've really played, and he is just a big, beefy guy. But when I DM, I really like the versatility and things, and I really love the spell casting and everything. That's why I couldn't play a clean martial. I had to play a paladin because at least they get a little bit of spell casting. And as the old saying goes in 5th edition, you can either have fun or be a martial class.
I 100% agree with that. I might even tattoo on my body, I think. You not want to play a martial class.
No. That's a lack of imagination there, sir. My TTRPG, my martial classes are all fun as hell.
I can attest to this very much so.
And I'll be the first to say other TTRPGs are a lot better about making martial classes feel alive. We've been messing around with Pathfinder 2nd edition with Waffles Maple Syrup.
Yeah.
And that has been great.
We love that.
I play a swashbuckler in that. That's full martial and it's super fun. 5th edition, though, the martials, I mean, you can only describe how you swing your sword so many times. And, like...
Battlemaster. That's why I really like Battlemaster, because you get so many different maneuvers where you can kind of change up that flavor text and make it a little more interesting.
So it becomes I swing sword twice and also trip the target while doing it.
Yeah. Well, that's the big problem with martials in 5e in general terms, is that they don't have any abilities for the most part. Yeah. It's like I hit it with my weapon more than once sometimes, and then that's your turn.
My DM with my current PC, he's a gunslinger, and he's let me RP a lot of stuff. So he's got a 4-shot flintlock pistol. But he's a cat, so the flints, he hangs them in his tail like Blackbeard hung his lights on his beard. So he puts his tail over his shoulder and lights his flints as he's firing. But now that he's spec'd into cleric, he can do, he's a war cleric, so he gets an extra attack as a bonus action. So when he does that, David just let me RP it that he essentially turns into like Godzilla atomic breath, and the fire spreads up his tail and up his back, and he shoots another. Yeah, so like,
is it fire
boring. No, I wish because I keep getting killed by fire bolts and it is infuriating. But another thing, David gave me a magical flare gun that casts counterspell.
Oh, nice!
Because I kept getting killed by fire bolts. So.
Like, cats do not like fire. I know from experience.
or trees. And our whole thing is that there's a friggin' evil tree that's chasing us, and it's like the cat's worst nightmare.
Dang.
I know. It's like he made it to make my life hard or something.
Oh my gosh. I don't even know what to do with this conversation anymore. So I'm just gonna ask another question.
By all means, Luna,
let's
take it
see.
away.
Braids Blades would like to know, can you collectively build a character named Chet who everybody loves, just like Raymond? What would be the most popular or beloved person in all the fantasy realms have as a goal, and what flaw would they have?
What?
So basically,
The flaw would be they talk too much, for sure.
yes.
I was about to say the flaw would be they talk so fast that sometimes what part of them is saying gets buried and you don't even see it.
So, because they're talking so much, they're clearly a bard, because that gives them the charisma to be lovable, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So we're looking at a bard. What subclass then?
College of Whispers, because it'll
I
really
was
fuck with
thinking
your
of-
head if you pay too much attention.
Yeah. Because they definitely cause psychic damage to the,
Oh,
the
yeah.
streamer every
Lots
so
of
often.
psychic damage, yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
What would their goal be?
What would their goal be?
Could their
Respect.
goal be
To
be
support the people
charming?
they love most.
Support the people they love most. I mean, that's what all bards do, though, isn't it?
I guess it depends on the game.
I mean, pretty much bards love those around them, right? So, I mean,
Yeah.
love the ones you're with.
I take offense to this. I've taken 6 bards, and none of them have been the horny bard version. And I'm always so confused by how everyone talks.
It's
I'm like, I've never
fully
been
a
horny
bit.
bard.
I
It's
have
just a meme
never
that
seen
refuses to die.
anyone play the horny bard, and also 5th edition doesn't have seduction as a skill, which older editions did.
I've seen it played. I've seen it played a couple times. I actually saw one like Saturday on the stream I was watching. A guy who was just seducing everyone around him every chance he got. But
Oh,
Our bard is a reluctant bard. Like they don't want to be a showman, and they're only extremely horny for one person. It's weird that they're like the most monogamous bard I've ever been around. But they do it really well. It's really fun to watch.
I don't think I've actually ever been in a party with someone who's like, I rolled to seduce the XYZ. I don't
Good
think I've
try.
ever actually had that experience. Yeah.
I mean, I typically DM, and like I have a couple of side games running aside from the podcast and everything, and like my table rule is just like, hey, like it's an open world, you can do what you want. If you are going to do anything sexual, we're just going to fade to black and pick back up, because I'm
It's
not comfortable
uncomfortable.
doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%
Um,
agree.
Totally get
100%
that.
So
agree.
like we all love a nice dirty joke here and there, but at my table I'm like, we're actually going to keep a lot of the sex stuff out, because that's not what I'm here for, dog.
You
I'm
don't
here
want to
to-
role play it.
Yeah, I'm here for like a great fantasy experience, not to role play your sex ideals.
You get those BioWare rules going on.
Hey,
I don't want to look into your eyes, so I'm talking about how this NPC loves you.
I'm not
Yeah.
gonna hide it. I actually own a T-shirt that says "BioWare romances me right."
Nice.
You gotta love a good BioWare romance, or like Alarian Studios Divinity and stuff romance.
Yeah.
Like those are great. Love that. And that's when I'm alone.
Right.
And it's just me in the game.
That's me
That's not
time.
when there's other people at the table and I have to be like, she looks at you with a whimsical eye. Fuck that. Ugh, I hate it.
I do have to admit to having had a player roll, roll for stamina for me real quick, please.
Ooh.
And then you get the big bad situation that occurs with a horrible roll, and you're like, and later that evening, you find her laughing her way out of the room.
Yeah,
Yep.
we've had that happen a few times in games I've been in. Although one time I had a one of my good friends and we were playing it was a home game. This was several years ago, and we encountered a succubus, and
Ooh.
we may or may not have changed alignments when we paid for the room in the inn to send a party member to bed with the succubus. Because they had no idea that that's what they had run into. And we were like, yes, by all means, go off to the inn. We will give you money for the room.
We got the perfect room for you.
Yeah, it was bad.
Very warm.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Let's see. Nick plays D&D. Hi, Nick. Nick would like to know, if you could spend a year living as a different playable ancestry from D&D, elf, dwarf, etc., what would you choose and why?
That's an easy one for me. I love elephants. I wish I could be an elephant. I would be a Loxodon, full stop.
I won't lie.
I want to
did not
have
see
a
that
cool
coming.
prehensile trunk. I want to have tusks. I love elephants so much. I have 7 elephant little paperweights right up here on my desk shelf. Like, elephants rock.
I would have to say that along the lines of animal types, I'd either be a turtle or an aarakocra, because I either want to go under the ocean or into the sky.
Nice.
I respect
Dang, that's a better answer.
I've always been a big fan of elves. Not like the ridiculous, like, I am an elf, I'm amazing. But just like being able to just like really dive into forests and experience all that stuff and like be one with nature. Oh, I love it.
The immortality and the perfect beauty also helps a little, I think.
I mean,
Also, the meditating, like, I don't know how deep you guys get into the lore of things. I love it all. But elves, when they're younger, when they meditate because they don't sleep, they see visions of the future. And then as they get older, they start to see visions of the past. And I love that mechanic. I think that'd be so cool to be able to like get those dreamlike visions of what's to come. And then once you get older, seeing these like vivid pictures of everything that happened before.
Sounds a lot to me like the writer of that book happened to be explaining, the idea that everything's going to be better in the future as a kid. I can't wait to grow up. And then nostalgia as those individuals become older.
Yep.
Like, what about the past? The past was so wonderful, and now I have to live in the future, and it sucks.
It's deep. It's very deep.
Very deep.
I would go full gnome. I love gnomes.
Gnome.
Just like, especially after reading the first 15 Drizzt books, Belwar Disengulp was like my favorite character.
He's
so
awesome.
great.
I know, deep gnomes are so cool.
Deep gnomes are very
Little
cool.
Smurf
Turf
Neblins.
Neblin, yeah.
Yeah, just that kind of neutral alignment, but they live in stones and they're tinkers and they do all that stuff. They live in mountains, they live in forests. It's just I don't know. I always feel like they're really overlooked, and there's so much depth to them that you can, RP. You can play almost every class with a gnome and do fairly well. But the way people write them, I'm always interested in them. I always like them.
Literally overlooked, though. Literally overlooked.
Follow-up question for you. Would you also have your hands severed and replaced with cool magical pickaxes?
Absolutely. Like, if I could bivrip my way through a mountain, you better believe I'm gonna do it.
Heck yeah.
Nice.
I'm gonna have to agree with James. I think the elves are probably the coolest ones, and not for like the traditional. The same. I kind of agree with everything he said there, but like for the idea that I know I'm gonna live for the next several centuries, and I get to just like learn at whatever pace I want to, and know it's like I don't have 3 decades. I have 4 centuries instead to pick up piano.
That's
about as long as it'll take you to do
pick
that.
up piano.
That's my argument for why humans suck, is that we don't live long enough to actually grow the necessary wisdom that we might need to be a mature species.
Yeah.
But
That's also why humans are the innovator.
and the counter argument to that though is that if you have 4 centuries, it would still take you that long to start learning everything because you would just spread it out. Like, I have time. I don't need to waste it.
I'm
And
gonna
time
be underneath this
isn't
tree
that-
and look at the sun for an entire
I'm
day
not-
because I don't have anything else I need to worry about.
I'm not saying, well, I mean, you might take your time with things, but even just taking your time with things gives you a greater appreciation for things, which makes your mindset different than that gotta do, New York style, everything needs to be snappy because I'm running out of time and I need to write as fast as possible and might die tomorrow and I have to make sure my book is out and I don't know what's going to happen otherwise.
Could you imagine being the person having to listen and suffer through someone practicing a clarinet for 4 centuries.
No, we didn't have to practice it for 4 centuries. They'd be capable way before then.
Have you
Underneath
met
the
Squidward Tentacles?
Yeah, exactly. Same
He's
page,
still
same
bad. No, I actually think I might change my answer because now I started thinking more. I'd be a dwarf because I love to drink, and in D&D lore,
You have to get
when
that holy water.
yeah, but when dwarves drink, they remember more, and it brings them almost to like a sort of trance-like state of like vivid memory, and then that's why like dwarves are known for having like the raucous drinking like things, because then they'll all like relive in their memories like a great battle they went through or something. And I think that would be super dope for somebody that drinks as much as I do to remember more so than forget.
Sometimes you think you know lore, and then you meet somebody who's just like, and dwarves remember more when they drink. And you're like, I have no idea this.
I
This
didn't
is
know
not a
that.
thing I knew.
That's pretty
I am
cool.
a huge nerd.
So I got to the episode in From Afar when David was talking about his tattoo for the bridge, the bridge 4.
Oh, that's a Brandon Sanderson thing that I actually don't know what it is.
Yeah, so like I have a bunch of books and other shows and
Oh,
things.
hell yeah, dude.
Oh, I love that.
So like
That's a sick shoulder piece. I love that.
I know.
Love that
So, like,
so much.
a lot of it is you know, it's Boba Fett and the Federation talkie and stuff, and like, but they're all stories that have really informed who I am, and I'm filling it in. My next one's going to be my Dune hex, and I'm like freaking out about it because I want to get the right one because Dune is so important.
I literally just got a Dune tattoo.
Oh, no
That,
shit.
That
Oh.
Andy, he did the design for me. So it says, "I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer." And then he, like, I just asked him to draw up the words because I wanted his design on my body.
That's so awesome.
But he decided to do the sandworm doing the Ouroboros and the sand dunes and then the sun.
That's dope.
That's so cool.
yeah.
That's very
I want to
cool.
get the original art of Leto II of the God Emperor worm. I just want to get that face in my hex because like, God, the first time I read through that series was just so. I mean, I was like 18, so it's the quintessential boy fantasy of like I'm gonna rule the galaxy for 10,000 years. And, like it's just been such a meaningful series to me. But so have all of these other
Absolutely.
things, and like stories. I feel all of you would pretty much agree that like stories are how you learn, how you.
100%.
Yeah, they're just
Stories
like
are
they're-
humanity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And like I was gonna do this all the way down my arm, but I decided that one of my friends he's a former Marine and he had a bandolier of bullets around his arm, and I got to thinking about that idea. I'm not gonna do that, but I wanted to do that with swords from stories. Because most of the important swords from stories are ones that either changed the world or didn't get used. And I think that's like such a cool thing
Yeah.
to have, getting like Glamdring and a bunch of the important swords from Lord of the Rings, but then Drizzt swords where he uses them.
I think that the twinkle.
Yeah, and it just I mean like I could go on, and I feel like I haven't said many words in this sentence because I'm very excited.
I love this concept. I love this idea because I've always wanted to get a tattoo of just like a collection of the various video games that have shaped me throughout the years.
Yeah.
And I love the idea of just broadening that to be the various stories that have shaped me throughout the years. I've
I
always
love
wanted to
that.
do like
Can we
classes that I played in MMOs, and now I'm kind of considering stealing your idea and doing like stories that I've loved throughout the years and something to
Yeah.
represent that instead. I really like that a lot.
Can we just take a moment to appreciate the storytellers who have helped shape our memories over the long period of time that is our lives, and
Absolutely.
recognize, whereas some other individuals in society might not recognize the value of spending that time with your favorite shows and books and sitting around the table with all of your friends and developing these stories that you are telling inside of your head. They're memories. They're part of you and are very personal quite often. I mean, I get that same way about a bunch of games I played in the past. Things
Yeah.
like Final Fantasy VII, things like all of Ari
yeah,
Salvatore's works.
Yeah, I
Um,
love that game.
All of those things are intrinsically part of who you have become over time and are part of your identity. And the fact that they happen to be stories and they're not real life doesn't work. It doesn't matter to the brain because they are experiences you have had and experiences that you have memories of that will be with you forever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And like, I think that's my big, like, you know, a lot of people don't understand, you know, people that aren't gamers and things, they'll be like, why, how could you spend so many hours playing a game? Couldn't you be doing something else? And it's like, yes, but like, this isn't just a game. Like, this is a huge story, and it's a grandiose adventure or a lesson to be learned. There's pain here, there's bright sides over there. It's an entire learning experience for things I might not necessarily face myself, but it's still a lesson I can learn to have in my toolbox to then traverse regular life. And I think that's also why D&D is so exciting, because then it's just you and your friends making that story, going on that grandiose adventure, learning those lessons, having those hardships, and coming away knowing a little bit more about yourself and the world.
Yeah,
And not only that, but when you're making those stories with your group of friends and everything, part of who you are comes out in your actions, in what you decide to do, in what people write.
Yeah, and I think I watched a video one time, and somebody really puts this in perspective for me, is that when you play TTRPGs versus playing like video games, you never say, well, I experienced this, or I love that this character did that. When you play a TTRPG, you say, I did that. I was the one who participated in that, or we did that. And I think that's the big difference, is like it feels more like an experience that you are engaging with and you are a part of, because you are the one doing the actions.
So metaphysical statement here. We, as human beings, are fourth dimensional creatures. We can see the third dimension, therefore we are fourth dimensional beings. We can't necessarily see what kind of interaction we have with the fourth dimension or beyond. But let's say, for hypothetical reasons, when we create a world, it exists somewhere. So anytime you are making these decisions as this character, in some ways, maybe you are literally that person in a different reality.
So one of my favorite facts to throw out is that a study was done where they did brain scans while people played TTRPGs, and they did brain scans on people recalled TTRPGs. And the way that your brain lights up when you're telling a story of something you read or something is different than when you're telling a story about something that you did. And when you're recounting something that you did in a TTRPG, your brain lights up as though that was genuinely your memory and you actually experienced and lived through that.
It's because
And
you're legitimately making those decisions. That is my choice. I see this encounter and we're in a bar and suddenly there's people doing, what do I do?
Right.
And then you say, well, based on these, categories of whatever, this is how I act. That is literally you making that decision.
So what you're saying is we're casting Demiplane as we're playing these games.
Exactly.
The fourth dimension. So I'm sure all of you have heard of this, and I hope that it's getting more research on it. But essentially, like attaching something to your brain when you're sleeping and creating and projecting an image of what you're dreaming about. That's something that they've done some research on. I don't know where it is now. Would you imagine if they could do that for, TTRPGs and stuff like that, where they take and recall all the experiences you've had and project it onto a display,
Imagine
and then create a show about that or something like that? Would be so
God.
Dope.
The future of TTRPGs. Everybody wears a headband, you sit around a circular table, and then all of you project your combined image into what you see right in front of you. As you're reacting and talking and interacting and using these scenes, and you watch it play out in front of you like you're watching a damn movie you're controlling.
Be like,
you guys are getting me too
step
excited.
Is nerve gear, and we've come full circle.
You guys are getting me too excited right now. That'd be so cool.
Wow.
I would love though, because you know that unfortunate thing when the DM describes something and then you're picturing something a little different. Now imagine everyone's projecting and then it's just like this one section that's blurry because everyone's different things.
Well, I feel like, the way the brain works, obviously, it tries to complete the picture of a whole. So if you're staring at something and it looks a little out of place, you will adjust until you become able to see what you're looking at. So I think it would work out. I think it would.
It would also force clarification in explaining the situation.
It's like you see an image from your player, he's like, they're envisioning a football field area, and you're like, no, it's a 10-foot room.
My problem is that, like, my dreams typically end up more on the like Call of Cthulhu RPG than the D&D RPG section.
Yes.
To the point where I've started asking if David and some of the other people in GBQ want to play a Call of Cthulhu game because I have some ideas.
Dude,
I guess that does bring up another point. I don't know if I'd want to project some of the stuff that comes into my head while I'm in the middle of GMing.
God forbid you get a text or something that's a little racy, and then you're just like, "Oh, stop projecting, projecting.
right.
Hold on."
I'm more like, I would turn every single game into a nightmare. I don't want that to happen.
Right.
Dude, I'm a huge Lovecraft fanboy, and I'm actually, hopefully, going to be running a Call of Cthulhu for the boys of FAP pretty soon, because we've been dying to do it, and it's just, time and scheduling, and it's been really rough. But I love Cthulhu, and I've never played Call of Cthulhu, and the best way to learn a game is to run it, right?
Pretty much everybody in that just dies by the end, though. That's just how they always turn out.
Yeah.
Going crazy or dying.
Yeah.
I have an idea for a campaign of essentially the Chronicles of Narnia, but you don't ask for it. So, like, essentially you're walking through portals to another world, but they're not defined. So you just kind of show up to, like, the Cthulhu, god demiplane, looking at a donut. Like, you just look through that hole in a donut, and then all of a sudden there are these horrible creatures around you.
No, oh my god.
I'm going to jump in on this small pause in the conversation to say that we've already hit our first hour, and so we are going to pause for a break. I know. It always goes so fast. The first hour always catches everyone off guard. So we're going to take a pause for a quick break and give our guests a chance to stretch their legs, refill drinks, all that good stuff.
Bladders.
Hashtag free the pee. And yes, it's a thing.
That big P energy.
That big P energy. That's right.
Butterfly.
Big P, small D, baby.
Oh, no.
And on that note, we will be back in just a little bit.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Oh, Luna, I always have so much fun.
I can't hear. back. Hope you guys all had a good break.
I peed. I made a new drink. It was great.
Good
Hopefully
time,
not at the
good
same time.
I mean, you just standing there with like 2 hands just up in the air while you're working, and you're just mixing your drink.
I can imagine being with both hands filled drinks. That's a dangerous situation to be in.
Okie dokie.
You know, I if I didn't have to like shake, I think I could do it. But that leads to a whole fire hose situation.
Beer everywhere.
Okay.
That's not
We had a poll running over the break, if you guys saw it. I posed the question to chat, the same question that we were just talking about, or sort of talking about do you play different types of characters in TTRPG versus video games? Yes, I know there was no E on the end of game. It's because I ran out of characters. So it wasn't a typo. I ran out of space. But 75% of people said sometimes, 25% of people said yes, 0% said no. So there's your fun fact for the night. Another fun fact for the night.
Another fun. This is
Another
the
fun
more
fact.
you know.
Right?
But don't take my word.
Ty, can we talk about making a graphic for that so I can just click it and have it go flying across the screen when this happens? Excellent. All right. Well, we were having a really good conversation before we went to the break, and the next question that came in actually, I feel like sort of leads to this a little, because, we were talking about just, like the memories that are associated with storytelling and stories and being a part of the story. And so Ray Mayhem had a great question. Has your heart ever broken in a game, or have you ever broken someone else's heart in a game?
Define broken heart. Do you mean like good way, bad way, or any way?
I would say anyway, but man, I'm sorry, Ray, if you're in chat and you want to clarify, please feel free.
I would say if it's any way, I would say yes. I know I'm answering first. I tend to be very fast on talking. I'm sorry, everyone.
How dare!
So one way, and this is personal to me, to Dice Tyrants as well. We had a series called Silver Shield that was on last year.
Oh.
And one of our characters, our Sinan's character, Caleb Wesley, was an individual who was suffering from PTSD but didn't really realize it. He manifested a lot of his own personal guilt as these ghosts that would follow him around, and he'd talk to and would try to convince him to do things, and he had aggression towards some of them and shoved them away and things like that. And we had a large-scale story arc all season long that led to a position where he had to kind of come to terms with his own inner demons. And then the way that he did, he thought he was going to lose control of his character, but it turns out that there was this huge episode we had where he had an acceptance moment instead, and came to recognize that this demon that he had on his back this whole time was nothing more than his own personal guilt. And then he got rid of that, and he hugged it out, and I created art for him for it, and that was a big moment. And another one happened in the same season, sort of, with James's character.
That's the one I was going to bring up too. You're talking about with D.
Silas. Well, if you want to take it, then you take it. Yeah, you go ahead.
So there's actually 2 instances in that show where my character Silas, he's a chancer, which is a halfling that wasn't devastated by something called a genophage that happened on the halfling's home planet of Myosinus, and he wasn't there when it happened, so he essentially is just a standard halfling in the game. They're really cool though. So we had this like Wild West motif for Silver Shield, and so Silas had lost his wife and his unborn child. So he thought he wasn't sure if they were alive or if they were dead. Essentially, the Empire of Dwarves took them. Silas was a mercenary. His wife decided to go with him on this mission. They got taken by the Empire, and he got sent on this prison planet called Shulk. They escape, and throughout the entire season, he's just like, where is Asara? Where's my wife? I need to find her. We end up finding her, and it was such an intense, like, emotional roller coaster as we find her. Some messed up stuff happened, and like, I had to choose whether to let Silas possibly die or free her from what had happened. And it was crazy. There was also this other character named D, who I think had a love interest with Silas, and she gave me this necklace that was like a magic item, and
It had belonged to her
supposed to-
father before
yeah.
they had been in the war.
and I was supposed to go back to the village that we were in and have coffee with her and talk with her and whatnot. And Silas was too busy trying to find his wife that he ignored her, and something happened, and it was crazy. That honestly, like out of all of our shows we've ever run for Dice Tyrants, like Silver Shield was just so good. That's so many emotions with that show. It was very, very fun. I love playing Silas.
He's avoiding spoilers, so you guys will all go watch it.
It's available on your YouTube, right?
Yep, the whole season.
The whole
on
season.
YouTube.
There you go.
24 episodes, 25 episodes, something like that.
Hell
Yep.
yeah.
I would. Good.
I was gonna say that we haven't released these episodes yet, so I'm trying not to get into spoiler territory for my own show.
I feel you, dog.
I can't. First off, hold on. Take a step back. Gonna rewind from afar. David Tilstra is like, I see him putting the ball on the tee so that he can just knock a fucking home run. Like, I see some foreshadowing that he's doing, and I'm preparing myself mentally to just weep for when it comes up. Like, I can feel it. I can feel that happening. Like, I know in 3 or 4 episodes, I am just going to be a mess on the floor.
I love that you're such a fan of his show. Like that's so great. To me.
It's so good. So,
Very flattering. Thank
I
you.
know, right? It's awesome. It's awesome to watch. The sideline.
so back to my show.
Yes, please.
My David, the first season I felt was always really good. The second season, David really started giving us some emotional cues to go on, and I think we did way better. And then this season that we're currently recording, he has come out with just some emotional gut punches of just like, you have to make this decision now, or shit's gonna, turn bad. And our player Kate, who plays Cash, our bard, Kate plays with such big balls that like I am in awe of the decisions she makes. Like,
I love that.
One of the big plot points that I feel is not a super big spoiler is there are favors being made with a being currently, and Kate just like tried to get someone's favor, and like everybody playing was like, "What are you doing? You cannot do that. That is so bad." And my character, especially the cat who has attached himself to the bard, is like losing his mind. So Yardy is modeled after my cat who like adopted us. So I've modeled him to adopt Cash as his owner. And every time Kate does something, I am sitting here on the verge of tears thinking like, what deity am I going to have to fight to make sure that my best friend in this game, the man that I love the absolute most out of any other being on this planet, stays with me? And Kate keeps doing these things where she's like, yeah, I'm just going to die, and then you guys are going to have to find me. And I'm like, that's killing me.
I think the most emotional situation I've had in like a TTRPG was actually for one of my players that I was running a game for. She had we just finished like Lost Mines of Fandelver, so my first time DMing. So I was like writing my very first one shot, and I created this character that she really latched onto. This gold dragon named Kari, who would turn into this beautiful like blonde woman. And it ended up changing her character because she loved this gold dragon so much. She ended up going good. She was like a chaotic neutral rogue. She started going good and started being good as a character. We went into the next campaign. So when I wrote the next campaign, I wrote Kari as like this patron, and they had this egg that belonged to Kari. It was Kari's egg. They were just trying to get back to Kari. And they spent the first 10 or so sessions of this campaign just trying to get this egg back to Kari. And this one character was just leading them to there. And they got right in front of Kari's island in the middle of the swamp. And she was just like so excited. She's like, that's Kari's island. She sprinted forward and she walked right into my frog hemoth that I had set right up in front of the island and got swallowed. And ended up dying right in front of Kari's island.
Oh no!
But they didn't have a reser. They didn't have a reser in the party. So Kari just took her body and brought her into her island and created this beautiful crystal throne for her. And that was just like a real big emotional experience for that player. And I like getting to like DM it and run it and like push these emotions, and it just felt really, really powerful for me as well.
Can I request that Luna gives us some input, because I feel like you're a big RPG presence that we haven't tapped into this stream, and I feel bad because it's
good. I like letting I love the days when I can just sit back and let you guys talk. It makes me look good. No, I'm kidding.
You always look good, Luna.
It's the lipstick. What can I say? Well, I'm trying to think if there's a story, if anything has happened that people who are regulars to the stream haven't heard, and honestly I can't think of any. So I have two. One that I'm not sure I've talked about yet this season, and one I actually talked about a few weeks ago. But so the first one, I was playing in a campaign where there's I was playing a halfling rogue, and this was not super recent, but it was in a campaign that ended recently, unexpectedly, so there was really no closure for anything. And I was playing a character who we had done a lot of character development sort of behind the scenes, because in the Discord for the channel that we were playing on, we actually had an RP channel where the stuff that happened wasn't necessarily canon unless we talked to the DM and said, like, hey, this is what happened in the RP channel, and he might, like, pick out small little snippets of things and put it into the story, but nothing that was essentially game-breaking. And in the course of playing in that RP channel, my character became romantically involved with essentially an NPC. And so during the stream, that NPC became part of the storyline, and he was a ship captain, and his ship blew up while he was on it, and she saw it happen, and she was on the dead opposite end of the city, like, just gobsmacked, like she had no idea what to do. And so she just, like, went on a tear, ran across the city, and of course she's like a halfling, so she's like going as fast as her little legs will carry her, tearing across the city, trying to get over to the ship. She ends up getting on another boat and going out trying to do search and rescue, and she couldn't find him anywhere. And it was awful. I mean, like, I could feel myself welling up on stream. It was devastating. And then another time, Ty is gonna know exactly what I'm talking about, because I had just shared it recently, and he and I were talking about it off camera another day, because I posted about it on Twitter too. But Ty and I were doing a stream together over on the Dice Tyrants, and just due to my own scheduling and life sort of being what it was, and whatever, I ended up needing to pull myself out of the story and leaving the stream, and ending up having to do that was devastating for me. And so it happened when we were we were in between streams, and so our characters had a little RP channel that was just set aside so that we could kind of use it as a place to like hash out information that we'd gotten or things like that. And so my character, in order to sort of leave with closure for the group, basically she carried a gun, and another character's gun had broken, malfunctioned. I don't remember exactly what happened. It was unusable. He didn't have it anymore. And so the only thing that she did was she packed her bags, she left the gun by his table, left a note, and said, thought this would get you through until you could get a replacement, and she walked out the door. And it was devastating. Damn. I was sobbing when I wrote it. I was sobbing when it happened. I was like, it was awful. It was really bad.
Claudia.
So,
we missed you, Claudia.
Yeah.
Sanan did put your character back into a little scene where she saved our butts, by the way.
Aww.
Love that.
I like that. Yeah.
I love that for you.
She was pretty badass, but it was just really unfortunate. Like, life got in the way, and I just could not keep up with it. And I was doing 4 streams a week at the time and maintaining my own channel as well.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Plus, I'm a single mom and working full time, so
That's a lot of work.
Yep.
And chat says I'm sane for doing 2 a week.
Yeah.
That's why I say I want to be like Luna when I grow up.
Yeah.
One day it's gonna happen, I swear.
I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid.
Yeah.
But
I was a Toys R Us kid.
I try to think about heartbreaking moments for me, and I'm gonna take heartbreak moments to be moments that yielded tears.
Sure.
There's one that's coming up. The episode's not released yet, but suffice to say, it's the first time that I, as a player, physically cried based on what happened and what was going on. Long story short, Sieghart goes through a huge moment, and I'm literally like doing my best to like stay in the voice acting and everything of it, while like my own voice is kind of starting to choke a little and like tears are starting to stream down my cheek. And then like literally as I'm breaking down, Dave's like, and that's where we'll end today's session. And I was just like,
I'm just watching Nolan mentally prepare himself for this upcoming episode.
God damn it, Goofy.
that's all I'll say about that one. But one that I can more ably talk about is long before FAP. The only other time I've been an ongoing player was ex-girlfriend of mine and a bunch of our friends started a campaign, and I played Oof, who was a College of Valor bard, a skald. I like Viking stuff. I have Viking tattoos, but he was like the face of the party. We were playing with a lot of people that were newer to D&D, so I was like helping, kind of ease everybody in. So I used a lot of like silly catchphrases and stuff. But he kind of became the lovable fool. Every time we'd meet a new group or new somebody, I'd be like, "My name's Oof, Slayer of Men, Taker of Women," and then the rest of the party would chime in, not in a creepy way. And then we were the snack pack and everything. But it was, he became that lovable fool of the party that was headstrong, would charge into battle and things. But one thing nobody else knew was written on the second page of my character sheet so no one else could see it. One of his flaws was he wanted to die a glorious death, that Viking death. And we were playing Princes of the Apocalypse, so minor spoilers if people haven't played that. But long story short, there's these elemental orbs that sort of act as nukes. They like nuke a full mile radius and it's just gone. And the whole party was down in the dungeon, and we get to the room where this orb is, and it just needs to be cast on to be activated. And the big bad evil guy of that arc goes to cast. And I'm like, do I have a reaction? And he's like, well, what are you trying to do? I'm like, I'm going to dive in the way of the beam. And I do. And it was a ice elemental thing. So despite us having a life cleric that could have revived me, he rules that I got frozen solid and then I just shatter and all the pieces evaporate. Like, gone. I'm dead. And we had a Kenku in the party who Oof was closest to. So we had actually talked about it prior that I would have told him my death vows. So I start going into an old Viking. Lo, there do I see my father. Lo, there do I see my mother. My sisters and brothers, all of my line laid out before me. And yea, do they beckon me. And then I do a final little saying to everyone, like, be good. And just the whole table's bawling because then we end the session and they're all just like, holy, you're dead. And this is all their first campaigns and they didn't realize like you could die. And that was probably the most heartbreak moment that I've ever been privy to.
Rough moment. Rough.
That's intense.
The drama.
Right.
That's what I like about that's what I like about D&D, and like that's how I like to play my games, and those are the games I like to be a part of, where it's very like fun, happy, and lively. But then when those hard moments hit, you play them real,
Mm-hmm.
And
I love that.
Yeah, like that to me is the best feeling, when it's like we can have that revelry, but then we also do have to have those hard times, and it's just this pendulum swing.
Yeah, I love that too. Just having fun and enjoying it the whole time until suddenly your
Crying.
NPC you're attached
Sleeping
to
in your hand.
dies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I had
feel
a-
like
I had a
there's so,
game too. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
there's so much when you play something fairly goofy. When the serious side comes out, the emotions that you've put into being funny, like you said, it's just that pendulum swing of now it's serious, and it's the same level of emotion, but it's just a different emotion.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like
I've-
just the same way you commit to a bit, you got to commit to that hard point too.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Totally.
definitely. Well, that's a great lead-in to our next question. David Tilstra would like to know, what has been one of your favorite moments during a TRPG, either as a player or a GM?
Oof, that's a hard one. I've got a lot of
I know.
things that I rather enjoyed about lots of things.
Actually, by all means.
We being most of the GBQ crew were invited to play on D&D and Big D a couple of times. I know David Tilstra got to play with them as well. And I don't think they were particularly prepared for the heat that we brought when they had us on the show. Because we're a lot when we come in a group. And they had us on twice. The first time I played an Aarakocra warlock that was actually modeled after a goose, and his name was Foie Gras. The second time I got to play as a bard, and I made him a techno bard. So all of the songs that he would sing were just techno songs. And the last spell... Yes! The last song I got to do was Sandstorm, and I made two goblins' heads explode, and I cast prestidigitation on their bodies as they exploded, and just made sparks come out of their empty heads. It was so good.
Beautiful. I love it.
Adventurers are really fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really are.
Real.
Like, here, have all of my ego and my id all at once.
On that
Yeah,
note,
yeah.
I was running a Descent Avernus campaign, and I intentionally wrote something thinking the players wouldn't engage with it. I was like, I don't like normally doing this, but it was just like, the devil has asked you to go torture children or something like that. And I'm like, they'll never engage with this. So I wrote like a whole storyline of what they could do instead. And my players were like, yeah, we'll do it, whatever. I'm like, what is wrong with you people? I'm not going to roleplay this. I thought you wouldn't do it, so I wrote all this other crap.
You never test your players.
Yep, never.
The one thing that's true about players is that they'll do the other thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
They will always do the other thing.
Always
Yeah.
do the other
Mhm.
thing.
One of my favorite scenes in Chronicles of Kine, this was in season 1, I believe, is essentially like these ancient eldritch beings were brought to my homebrew world of Aldor Bryn, and they just screw up everything. They drain all the magic from the world. All this messed up stuff happens. And the players were looking for these ancient like tomes called the Chronicles of Kine. And they were in the city of Blackstone, which was a dwarven city. And they had just been through a bunch of shit throughout the whole campaign. Never a soft beat, never a time to like just sit down and enjoy a drink. And like, it was just go, 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 go. Like a whole bunch of stuff is going on that's really bad.
There was like 40 episodes of violence.
40 episodes of violence. It was just brutal. And I learned a lot from that campaign. That was one of that is the longest campaign I've ever run. And so they find themselves in the drunken. Finally they get a relaxing time, and like the bard in the party starts strumming on his lyre, and like they just kind of take this time to enjoy the downtime. And like I got a little choked up just because everyone's just like, finally we get to just relax. And like people were dancing and singing and, you know, bringing a bit of merriment, because everyone in the world was just like, everything is horrible, you know, everything sucks. And they brought a little bit of light into that tavern, and it was something small, but like it felt so big. It was great.
There was a lot of heavy in that like 1.5 seasons that you had gone through to get to that point. And when everybody finally got there, it just felt like light. Yes, everything was light. We had fun. We laughed at some things. We got people to do some funny stuff, and it had been such a long time coming. Because James, I mean, seriously, the torment you put us through. After, some people died. Some places were destroyed. Some ancestral homes got taken over by monsters, and then we were running a lot, and then we had a breather, and it was wonderful. I guess for mine, I have so many memories that are positive with individuals that I have role-played with that it's really hard to ever sit on one. From seeing many players like bouncing off each other and saying random funny stuff and the laughing and the, I love making James go, "What?" because he does that sometimes on the show. And he'll be like, the other day, the whole, when you're saying the S word because of things that were happening with Elrond. And, making Sinan basically go on rants all the time and like hide behind his green screen and open and close it and stuff because of how crazy he thinks the events are. I have a blast as a GM and as a player, and I literally can't choose a single moment because there are so many of them that we have.
I love that. Yeah. Especially as a DM, like when you DM a lot and you like every time your players are having fun, that is the most like euphoric experience I can have as a DM. Like when my players are smiling and laughing and they're talking about it afterwards, or they message me like, "That was such a cool moment." That is why I DM. That is why I do it.
Absolutely.
I love that so
100%. Like probably one of my favorite experiences with the Fat Boys before we started releasing Quest for Atlantis. We actually did like a year-long campaign that I was running just to, it was us kind of getting our feet wet. We started getting our mics because we started with just fucking cheap headsets and everything. We actually started recording with like one mic, 3 of us in the room, and then David Skyping, and it was horrible, absolutely horrible. We recorded all of it, and it will never be released because it's unlistenable. But I was running the game, and David was Dim Tanks, this just huge, burly, wants to be a hero so bad, just such pure heart, half-orc. And he had a brother named Dam, who was a redskin half-orc. Half-brother, I think we ruled it. But and there was that moment where they finally meet Dam, and they had accidentally gotten teleported into the middle of an orc ceremony. And for interrupting the ceremony, Dam, who was this like very Thanos-like imposing figure, was just like, "All right, like we need to settle the score. Like, I get that you guys didn't mean to come here, but like we need to settle the score." So they started. He was like, "It's one-on-one combat." So Dim's like, "Okay, I'll fight you, brother." And it's just fisticuffs. It's not like we're trying to kill each other. It's a dust up. But they started going at it. And Dim has been just this pure-hearted boy the whole campaign, just always trying his best to save as many people as he can. And I started to just pull on David a little bit. I was like, "Make a wisdom save," and he fails. And I'm like, you're starting to feel that rage kind of starting to take over. And it led into him just going like buck wild, like taking the fight too far, and he's like winning, but now he's just ground pounding his brother. And at the end of that moment, Dave, who's sitting across the table from me, is literally like, "I am shaking right now." And I was just like, "You have given me such catharsis as a DM. I made you feel like," because I wanted this to be a powerful moment, but I didn't know that it would land. And then like to see it land, I was just like, "This is so great." And then shortly thereafter, Christian's character, Nintendo,
was it
Nintendo.
Was it Nintendo or was
it was Nintendo was his first name.
Okay.
Game console was his second name.
So he actually
America.
He had a great reasoning for it. The man that raised him was his father figure, was a planeswalker. So the inference being that he'd been to our plane and was just like, "I don't know what to name you, kid. Nintendo? Sure, that's something I heard once." But he gets his leg bitten off by a hydra, and they go to heal him, but it doesn't heal the leg back, and he has to like get a prosthetic and everything. It was just this like huge emotional moment for everybody where like the stakes became real and everyone kind of got pulled in and invested, and it was just like that for me was probably one of the bigger moments where I was just like, this is fucking D&D. This is it right here.
I have to say that I do want to share another experience, one that was pretty impactful for me. Like I said, I had a lot of them in my campaigns, but one of the more impactful ones recently was a one-shot I ran called The Last Alarm.
Oh my god, that was such a great stream.
Yeah, I had what was it, 4 players, 5 players? I don't remember at this point because my brain is foggy and it's the end of the day. So I set it up this way. I used a rules light version of my game. And I had these individuals that are all common soldiers that are fighting during this great war that takes place in my game. A bunch of dwarves and a gnome. And they don't know what their health is. I have it tracked myself. On the stream, when people start taking damage, I change the overlay to show damage so they have like blood splatters across them and like bandages and stuff show up.
Can you teach me?
So cool.
Every one of the characters, if they died, could give aid to their allies to try to accomplish this goal. They're trying to reach this alarm system that needed to be put out, like a first warning system, because there was this airship covered in this very powerful bomb, basically, heading towards the capital city that might have taken out the Emperor, or at least some really important figures. So they're running through this thing, gunning, trying to keep soldiers alive, going here to there. They've got like the typical tank type individual, real big, burly, big gun. They've got the medic, they've got the specialist, they've got the sergeant who's ordering them around and getting them from here to there. And even though it was potentially suicide, the specialist left to give them overwatch from up on top of a hill where you could snipe down at enemies that were sneaking up. We had the bruiser kind of run out in front, and when they started becoming overwhelmed, sacrificed themselves for the rest of the crowd, like rushing out and causing my players to cry again. We had one of the individuals that was an explosive specialist who accidentally ingested too much of this chemical agent that they were using that made him like start dying there on the spot, and the medic recognized it, couldn't do anything about it, and decided to tell him, you're going to be fine, let's just keep going, don't give up, we got to keep fighting.
He's saving Private Ryan him.
Yeah, kind of saving Private Ryan him a little bit. The sniper gets overwhelmed, runs into one of the big bad guy, the BEG of the entire series that we're playing on the other in the other campaigns, who then proceeds to like rip off his arm really quickly and basically wipes him to this point where he's just about to die. And then a whole bunch of nat 20s come off the back of it. And he injures the guy, and he escapes, and he makes it to an airship, and he flies out to try to assist his allies who are inside of a building that is crumbling and exploding while all these soldiers are rushing into it. We're at the top of this tower that the enemies are disabling at this moment. We have like just the Doc running up the stairs while everybody fights for their life behind him, trying to give him just enough time. And then it ends. And if you want to see what that is, go ahead and check it out on our YouTube. But I have to say that it was honestly one of the most intense one-shots I've ran, and gave me a lot of ideas on how to run some of the ones that I'm going to be doing in the future. But the amount of emotion that came from that, the amount of investment that came from that, I still have players come back and tell me about that. And that right there, that feeling of like, wow, this is something that I can never do again, but was so amazing that I can never forget. That was a good one.
And yeah, I'll tell you, as somebody who I watch a lot of TTRPG streams, and I watched that one from start to finish. And, you know, usually I'm the person who, like, I'll pop into chat and I'll be listening, but it's kind of on in the background. I was riveted. I couldn't look away. And it was like, because yes, I was looking at an overlay of a Twitch stream, but it was just so, like, the storytelling was so good, and the emotions that everybody was feeling were so intense that it was like, I mean, it was like there could have been a movie on in front of me, and I was just like, I couldn't look away, I couldn't do anything else. It was amazing.
That is I love that. Thank you. Everybody there was so good too. I love the actors. I love the individuals, the community that we have fostered, and that everybody here is fostering. All of you seem like amazing people, and I would love to play games with each and every one of you.
Absolutely.
Heck yeah.
Same,
I have
yeah.
to say
Is
that
Cthulhu anybody?
Cthulhu.
I would love to.
I do have to say that the TTRPG community has taught me the value of myself. Often, I get pushed. If I hadn't been part of Dice Tyrants and part of this community, my own self-doubt and self-worth issues that I've had would never have allowed me to finish writing my book, to be in the position that I'm at where I can be on camera in front of everybody and be as confident speaking as I am. And I have to say thank you to everybody out there that's supported me in this, because you're all amazing and you've all helped me become a better person.
100%.
Always and
dude,
forever,
I love
man.
that.
It's
Yeah.
so
Always and
true.
forever.
It's so true, though. All right. Well, I know that we have somebody who absolutely has a hard cutoff at the end of our stream. And so at this point, unfortunately, we were out of time for extra questions. But what I will do is I will post some of them up on Twitter so people can answer them if they want to. I'll post them up on Twitter either tonight or tomorrow. Because there were some excellent questions that came in tonight. Chat was on fire, and I super appreciate that. That makes my job really easy, and it gives us some great topics for conversation. So what I would like to do is I would like to have everybody, again, I'm going to go around again and just remind us of who you are and where we can find you on the interwebs, and we are going to start with James.
Hey everybody, I'm James. I am the founder of Dice Tyrants, and tonight was really fun, y'all. Like, it was a really good time. Awesome conversations
Hell
about
yeah.
HEMA and TTRPGs and anime and everything. It's just super good time. I hope to be on this again at some point, Luna. I'll give you a heads up on when I'd be available.
Absolutely.
And, yeah, it was super fun. Yeah, you can find us at DTyrants on Twitter. You can find us at dicetyrants.com, where you can check out our calendar. You can head to our merch site if you want, which is on Redbubble. It's just Merch Tyrants. And then you can also find us at dicetyrants.buzzsprout.com for our Tyrus Savage Worlds podcast. And yeah, you can also check us out on Twitch at twitch.tv/Dice Tyrants. Pretty much just look up Dice Tyrants, you will find us. Thank you all so much. Yeah, very, very good time tonight.
Yeah, James, thanks so much for coming on. This is the first time we've been able to get you scheduled, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the first time. It's so busy.
I'm so
busy.
glad it finally worked out that we were able to have you join us. So thanks so much for making time in your schedule.
Of course.
And next we'll go to Cora.
Hi everyone. Yeah, I run 2 live stream campaigns. I run one on my own channel, Coraspire, twitch.tv/Coraspire. I also run a campaign called Sending Stone Stories. That's at sendingstonestories.com. That one's based in Theros. I have a lot of fun with that one, and we kind of go a little crazy in that one as well. I'm also an admin. I run a Discord server for Adventures League. Got a couple thousand members. We run hardcovers all the time. That's Adventure League Hub. You can find that on Roll20. We have posts all over Roll20 and stuff. If you really need it, I can give you a link to it. You just message me. I mean, other than that, I had a ton of fun too. I want to completely reiterate what James said there. This has been a great conversation. We went on a lot of tangents, and I'd love to be back on, honestly.
Yeah, anytime. Absolutely. You are all welcome back whenever your schedule allows. Provided I don't already have somebody scheduled that day. That's the fine print at the bottom of the page. So thank you so much. It's always nice when I can put a face to a name from Twitter, so I appreciate that. Ty, we'll go to you next.
So did you just give us the invitation to just have this same group just keep coming back to your show over and over again?
Yeah, once a month. This is it.
Over it.
Yeah.
We're just gonna. I'm Ty Burris. I am Lot Evenstar on DeviantArt, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. I do some video game streaming on occasion, and am a proud Dice Tyrant. I run 2 games a week, the Clockwork Zephyr on Thursdays and the Dragon's Rulo on Mondays, and I'm in a Vampire the Masquerade game called Division E on Sundays. I've created the TTRPG Aether and Steamworks, which you can find on RPG. The 1.5 edition, which is really a long time coming and a work of heart, will be out here in December, probably right around the second week of December. And you can get that in softcover and hardcover once I finish formatting the hardcover.
I'm so
Anyway.
excited for you, man.
I am
excited.
too.
That's me. Yeah. Send me messages, whatever. I do art as well, and I'll be opening up commissions again soon.
Excellent. Yes, Ty is a phenomenal artist. If you haven't seen the work he's done, you have, because he did this whole layout. And he's also done some fantastic character art commissions for me and other people I know as well. So, Ty?
I do overlays, I do videos, I do art, I do logos, I do all that kind of stuff. So
yeah. Well, thank you so
I
much
need
for
to talk to you
us.
pretty soon about that.
Do it. Seriously, he's really, really good.
He's super good. Next, we'll go over to Nolan.
I'm Nolan Lacey. I am on Good Better Quest, which is a 5th edition D&D podcast. You can find it at Good Better Quest on pretty much every platform. You can find me at nlacey70. I've been in the chat. That's my personal thing on every platform. So if you want to follow me and hear about my cat from time to time, you can do that too. I want to reiterate as well. This has been an absolute blast. And if you ever have spots you need filled, just call someone from GBQ and we will be scrambling to figure out which one of us can do it. This has been great.
Well, I will let you all know, and this goes for chat as well. And then anybody who's listening, we also release this as a podcast. We call it the Ears Edition. And I will be sending out on Twitter a sign up for the start of the new year. So I'll be looking to start booking that, and probably pretty soon. So look for that probably in the next week or so. It'll come both from my Twitter and from the Shared Experience Twitter as well. So, yeah. So definitely I would love to have you back at some point. The GBQ guys have all been a ton of fun. So, excellent.
We try.
And Goovy, let's head over to you.
Yeah, I mean, let me be the last to say that this was an absolute blast. I've never had a bad experience on Tales from the Tavern. Luna, you make such a great show, and you always bring together such great people. It's always such a good conversation. And I love it so much, because you never know what to expect, but it is always so engrossing. But you can find me at Goodball Talks on Twitter. I am notoriously bad at actually using Twitter. But more importantly, you can find From Afar Podcast at From Afar Podcast. And I'm going to invent our catchphrase now. Come fap with us. I hope David's paying attention.
Maybe we should invent that.
Go back with them. It's worth the time.
Maybe not the energy, though.
Oh, God. I think you just lost all of my subscribers. Thanks a lot, Goovy.
So sorry. Fap can do that sometimes. But no, we have Quest for Atlantis. It's releasing, and we're working on a couple of extra things coming over the holiday season and in the new year as well. But yeah,
excellent.
This has been so fun.
Excellent. Well, I'm so glad that you were able to come back on. My method of reaching out to Goovy is to go via David. So that's how I get in touch with him.
It's really funny because I've become our calendar manager and where are we, who's available, and what's going on. And then out of nowhere, David hops into a call with me because I was just lackadaisically in one of our chat rooms.
Yeah.
And he just hops in. He's like, "Hey, can you do Tales from the Tavern?" And I was like, "Yeah, I can do that. Fuck yeah. Of course I can do that." And he's like, Cool. This is when. I'm like, "That's in 2 hours. Okay, dog, let's do it."
Yeah, we had a last minute cancellation. Somebody that was scheduled to be on, unfortunately, had to help a family member with a busted furnace. So we do not want anybody to be cold. So that definitely took priority. And I would just like to wrap up by saying that I am Gamer Mom Luna. Everybody knows me as Luna. This is Shared Experience. You can find us here every Sunday night with Tales from the Tavern, which is our nerdy roundtable discussion. We run from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern. And you can find us on Wednesday nights from 8 to 11 p.m. Eastern with our 50 Shades of Crimson, which is a Pathfinder 1st edition campaign. Tales from the Tavern is currently also released in Ears Edition form as a podcast, which you can find anywhere, and is also available on YouTube. We are currently working on building up our YouTube library, so our 50 Shades of Crimson campaign is also getting posted on YouTube starting this week, and will also be coming available in Ears Edition form as well. So we are very excited about that. Also, coming up in January, we are going to be launching a Star Wars campaign. So
Nice.
So we are very excited about that. So that will be on Tuesday nights. The time is still TBA, but definitely something to look forward to in the new year. Santa is bringing us some more Star Wars, like we all love. So that will be a lot of fun. And let's see, we are going to head off over to a raid. Let me see who we can share the love with. We are going to head over to sorry, I was just looking at somebody that I wanted to raid, and we are going to go over to hang out with our friends Total Party Chill. So if you don't know them, they're a really great group, a lot of people out on the West Coast, so they should probably be going for a while, and they are playing some D&D tonight. So we're gonna, let me drop that raid, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful night. Thank you so much for coming to hang out tonight.
Thank you,
everybody.
everybody, for joining us. And
Chat.
ladies and gentlemen, this was such a fun conversation. I hope
This
to
is a
do it
great,
again.
this is a great episode.
This is excellent.
Yeah.
Yes, tons of fun. I love you guys.
We love you too.
Shout out for Luna being the best person in the community. Go!
You guys are hilarious.
All right, y'all. Well, I got a meeting I got to get to, so y'all have yourself a wonderful night, and I'll catch y'all later. I am totally up for Call of Cthulhu. I just want to make that very clear.
Absolutely.